Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm looking at a video called 5 Myths That Sabotage a Woman's Relationship with Men by Sterling Cooper. Let's get into the video.
So many women are walking around with a fundamental misunderstanding of male nature. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 most common myths that women believe about men and male nature. These myths are sabotaging their relationships and causing them to make bad life choices. So I'd like to do my part to help out and disprove some of these comforting lies.
How very noble of Sterling. Let's have a look at it.
My name is Sterling Cooper, award-winning adult film star, former high-class male companion. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, I'm going to say some things that might offend some women here.
Hopefully. Better you than me, mate.
Here. So I invite you to watch this video with an open mind. And
I'm just opening it right now.
And of course, if you have any disagreements, I encourage and welcome open debate and discussion in the comment section down below.
Open mass debate.
The first myth that women, for some reason, believe about men is that men want a challenge.
No, not true. Men don't want a challenge. Yep, so if women are believing that, it's not true.
No, they don't. Flat out. I can guarantee you, no man wants a challenge. This
I agree with Sterling 100% so far.
is absolutely false. Now, men enjoy the thrill of the chase to a degree, the art of seducing a woman. That is something we do enjoy. But in a relationship context, men do not want a challenge. They do not want a woman who is a burden to their life. Men's lives are already hard enough as it is. If you don't believe that, then you might want to reconsider your worldview, because you're missing out on some very, very obvious signs that men's lives tend to be a lot harder. So,
I think men and women have it harder for different reasons.
So, what a man does not want is a burden. What he wants is a complement. He wants a woman who is a complement to his life. They're a team together working towards a common goal.
Yes, I agree 100% with Sterling. You want a ride or die girl, and loyalty is the most important thing. And she needs to be on your team, and you've got to be the leader, and that's the way it's got to be.
Goal. That's very different from being a challenge.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite. Life is difficult enough. Like, life is the challenge. There are so many things that are going on in the world. There's so many things that you have to deal with, that the last thing that you need is someone causing you unnecessary drama. You need somebody who's on your team, that wants to see you do well, have a life goal together that's going to be mutually beneficial.
Second myth that a lot of women believe is that men want a woman who has a degree, who has a career, who is strong and independent and earns her own money.
No, it's got nothing to do with anything. I agree with him 100% again.
This just really isn't true for the vast majority of men.
Women date across and up hierarchies, whereas men date across and down hierarchies. So the fact that a woman would believe that is because she's judging a man based on where he is in the hierarchy, whereas a man isn't really judging a woman where, if she's got a degree, a career, or anything like that. It doesn't mean anything to us. What do I care if she knows that E equals MC squared? It doesn't make me feel any more or less attracted to you. I don't care if you make more or less money. Like, how much, what the number is in your bank account doesn't turn me on.
Okay, sure, maybe there's some men who, want a woman who's on maybe the same career path as them, or they want a woman who's earning a similar amount, but
yeah, men are very simplistic. They don't have all the high standards that women have. They want a girl that looks nice, that acts nice, and is completely loyal. That's it. And men even compromise on those 3 criteria all the time and settle constantly. So, like, they date girls that they're not attracted to. They date girls that are complete dickheads. And they date girls that they know that they're dating other men. It's ridiculous. So it's sort of like, men only have 3 criteria. Women have a huge list of criteria that they're judging men against. So men just aren't as judgmental as women. And women assume that men are, and they're not.
career, who is strong and independent and earns her own money. this just really isn't true for the vast
If anything, again, the opposite is true. All I want is a girl that's humble, a girl that's nice, a girl that's content.
true for the vast majority of men. Okay, sure, maybe there's some men who, want a woman who's on maybe the same career path as them, or
Well, most people, I think, get together through working together. And I think that there are some women that actually choose career paths in order to get the men that they want. So if somebody wants to be married to a doctor, they'll become a nurse. So there are certain times when women set up the circumstances and choose a career so that women end up with the type of guy that they're after.
okay, sure, maybe there's some men who, want a woman who's on maybe the same career path as them, or
Well, I think it's just that men don't want gold digger. That's it. So
when you start to look at really high value men who are in the top 10, 20% of society, who
and they're the men that all the women want.
have their life together, have a good body, a really good income, a good circle of friends, they don't look for women who are trying to be on their same level. They really don't. I mean, you can look at numerous examples of this in the real world. It's very, very common.
In fact, if anything, like the more a woman becomes like a man, like if she goes to the gym and builds a load of muscle, if she goes out and she gets a high earning job, if she goes out, if she's just taller than the majority of guys, if she's 6 foot, like because women like to date across and up. It's not just across social hierarchies. There's other factors as well, like physical hierarchies. They like a guy that's 4 to 5 inches taller, a guy that's 4 to 5 years older, and so everything's got to be more than the woman. And so if you're a really built woman and you're strong, you need a guy that's more built and stronger than you are. If you're a tall woman, you want a guy that's taller. If you're a high earning woman, you want a guy that's more high earning. So the more that women compete with men and become more like men, the less and less opportunities there are for mates that they're going to be naturally attracted to. Because this whole feminist thing has taught women that they should compete with men, and that's not true. They should just be the best women that they can be. Don't try and be a man. Don't try and be the best man you can be. Be the best woman you can be.
Numerous examples of this in the real world. It's very, very common for, say, athletes to date women who aren't also athletes. Now, you do get an interesting circumstance in corporate environments where, especially in Asian cultures, in places like Japan or in Korea, where women will go into a certain field, say
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
law, for example, purely so they can lock down a husband who is in that field.
Well, yeah, I just like I said earlier, I completely agree with that.
And then once they get married, they're going to
I mean, that's a famous, yeah.
pop out and raise some kids and be a homemaker. That's a bit of a different scenario to what most women in the West are trying to do in this day and age. The third most common myth that
I agree with him, but at the same time, it is still a mating strategy. And we're talking about mating strategies here. And we're talking about women in general. And women act and behave differently in different cultures. So and I am thinking more kind of from a biological standpoint as from a cultural standpoint, even though the two obviously intertwine.
the third most common myth that women seem to believe these days, especially in Western society, actually almost exclusively in Western societies,
Because the West is completely different to how nature works.
is that men want a woman who is his intellectual equal. Men want a woman who has her own opinions and who can hold her own in a conversation. I'm here to tell you that is fundamentally not the case. For the most part, when you look at high-value men and the women that they choose, so we're talking about multiple six-figure earning men, guys who are, say, celebrities or athletes or have a degree of clout, celebrity, fame, whatever that might be, have themselves together, have their...
Yeah, but I think a lot of that, I know what he's saying, but a lot of those are downstream effects of the type of character that they have. So it's sort of like, because a lot of people can be, Mike Tyson's a very good example. He had like hundreds of millions, of dollars or whatever it is. And then he didn't, and he was broke. But he didn't change who he was as a man. He's still a man. It's to compare men to these external factors, that's not who they are. That's just a downstream effect of the type of personality that they have that is determined for success.
Their body in shape, have a good social circle, have their finances in shape, who are basically executing on all levels.
And again, that's rare as well, because like, again, how many sports stars will stick with, because it's an easy example, do you see getting involved in drugs? I mean, it's famous, isn't it? I mean, they all, like, whether it's movie stars or rock stars or athletes and all that, they're all taking drugs of some, and it only takes, you can be on all four cylinders and all your life, and it only takes one area to go down, it brings everything else down. So to get a guy that's had nothing, had everything, lost everything, and then built it up again, referring to Mike Tyson, for example, is a very good example of an alpha male, then you think, oh shit, he can tolerate the ups and the downs and he's still standing.
The kinds of women that high value men tend to go after are actually women who are, for the most part, quiet and compliant, who don't make a fuss, who don't interject when he's talking, who respect him, respect his authority.
Respect is the main word. And there's two ways of respecting people. One is through fear and the other is through admiration. And it's better to go for admiration.
You respect his opinion. For the large majority of men, we would be much, much happier if our partner was just quieter a lot more often. The fourth most common...
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that. I like a conversation. I like having a laugh with a girl, but I know what he's saying. He's comparing it to sort of like like I say, the high kind of like feminists. I'm all that. Like they've got, the attitude stinks. If their attitude's all right, yeah, talk as much as you like. You know, it's not so much what they're saying or how much they're saying it. It's the place that it's coming from. If they're coming from a snarky, nasty sort of, oh, it's all competitive, da 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 da, then it's like, why do you want to be around that energy? Whereas if it's from a fun-loving place that's humble and it's energetic and it's vibrant and it's youthful and it's like, and it's optimistic and positive, and you think, yeah, love it, yeah, go all you like. So again, I don't think it's so much like the way that he's putting it. I'd have a slight disagreement with that. I think it's more of a place of where it's coming from. That's the only thing I wouldn't quite agree with him on. I love it when my girl chops in away about something that she's excited about. I love it. I love listening to it. So, you know, whereas if you're with a girl that's sort of nagging at you and directing at the relationship and moaning and bitching and complaining, then that's no good, is it? So again, I don't think it's so much the fact that they're talking or not. It's again the attitude of which they're talking with. So I'm agreeing with him on all this. I'd just fine tune that a little bit.
The fourth most common myth that a lot of women believe about men, and this causes a lot of anxiety and self-esteem issues for women themselves, is that if he isn't giving me his undivided attention, it means he doesn't love me. That is absolutely not true.
Yeah, I agree with that again, 100%, because women want attention. So if a woman really values you, she really values your attention. And any time that you're not giving her your attention, then she's like, well, what's taking the attention away? So it could be your job, you know, because you have to go to work and you have to make money to live. So that's why women can complain a lot about, oh, you're always working all the time, you're never here, da 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 da. It's because they're moaning that they're not getting the attention. If a guy gets in from work, for example, and he has to play on his video game for an hour or whatever, oh, you spend all that time on that video game, da 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 da, because, you know, or if you're talking to somebody else, like one of your mates or, you know, whoever it could be, like socially hanging out with somebody else, oh, I can't believe that you're spending time with them, and because they start to resent any time that you're not giving to them. So it looks like they're complaining about all these different areas of your life, when really they're just complaining about the fact that they're not getting the attention, and that something else is taking the attention away from what you should be giving them, because they feel like they're not getting enough. But if a woman really is into you and she loves you, then she's always going to feel that deficiency, like it's never going to be enough. It's always going to be like a never-ending space she'll never be able to fulfill. So even if you showered her constantly and all the attention, it still just wouldn't feel enough. So I think that attention causes a lot of problems in a relationship.
If he isn't giving me his undivided attention, it means he doesn't love me.
So the way around this is that when you are with a woman, give her your undivided attention. And when you're not with her, give your undivided attention to whatever else it is that you're doing, whether it's work or chatting with a mate or doing whatever, playing the video game. It doesn't matter. So it's about being present in the moment and giving your full time and focus and attention to somebody so that they know that they're with you. You know, when you see couples together and one's on the phone and like, yeah, we're not really talking about them, they're not really engaged in the conversation, then it feels like, oh, well, it's not quality attention, is it?
If he isn't giving me his undivided attention, it means he doesn't love me. That is absolutely not true. A man can love you and focus on other things. A man can still love a woman without the woman being his primary drive in life. And in fact, I would say that is actually the ideal scenario. You know, your partner, your woman, is a complement to your life, and she assists you on pursuing your goals and your vision. A perfect example, look at somebody like Elon Musk, a guy who's extremely busy, extremely successful, undoubtedly a very high...
He's an easy example to use. He's like one of the top tier guys, but he's always working. He's a workaholic, so that's going to be an issue in the relationship, isn't it?
High value man. Do you think he spends his whole day giving his undivided attention to his partner? Of course he doesn't, because he has more important things to do. He has to build an empire. He has to build a future for himself and his partner. So you should actually be grateful that you're with a man who is doing things, who is on the up and up, who is striving for success in multiple areas of his life. And that actually makes the time and attention he does give you far more valuable, because he's deciding to take some of that limited resource he has, which is his time, and dedicate it to you because he loves you.
I agree with that again, 100%, yeah.
Now, this fifth myth that a lot of women believe about men is really going to ruffle some feathers, so brace yourself.
He always says the ruffling the feathers one till last, doesn't he?
The myth is that if he cheats on me, that he doesn't love me. Men and women love in totally different ways. Now, the way a man shows his love for a woman is by giving her his attention, his time, and his resources. That is how we show our love for you. We can put our dick in any woman without falling in love with her. So when a man cheats on you, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even use the word cheat, because it's not cheating. Think of it this way. Let's say if let me explain this, because this always crops up with women and they never quite get it or understand it. So let me just lay this out in a very different way for you to understand. So here's one example. Instead of using sex, we're going to use friendship. Let's say that I go out into the world and I want a friend, and I meet somebody and we're really good friends. We have a great conversation. Okay, we're just friends. All right, we're just chatting away. Okay, cool. And then we keep meeting up and we always have these great conversations. We're there for hours just chatting away, like a real strong bond connection thing. And then one day the friend turns around and says, you know what, you're such a good friend that I don't actually want any other friends in my life. I'm not going to speak to anyone else but you, because I so love our conversations. I'm not going to speak to anyone. I'm going to give just you all my time and my friendship, and I'm not going to have any other friends. You'd be like, oh wow, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That really means a lot to me. Yeah, that's great. And you should do the same too. What? Like, so can I go and talk to my mate? Oh no, you can't go and talk to him, because you'd be giving your attention to him. You can't be friends with me and still be friends with somebody else. It just wouldn't make any sense, would it? So if Bob comes in and I go, you're right, Bob. You spoke to Bob. Yeah, I just said, you're right, Bob. I can't believe you'd speak to Bob behind my back. Well, it didn't mean anything. I just said hi. I didn't even really know him that well. No, we're best friends forever. That means you can't talk to anyone else. I don't understand. I'm not talking to anyone else, so you shouldn't talk to anyone else. And the thing is, there's nothing, if they want to talk to you and you alone and not see anyone else, that's completely up to them. And if you want to talk to them and still talk to other people, that's completely up to you. And if they have a problem with that, then they're not really your friend then, are they? Because you're not really being honest and genuine and sincere with each other about what you think and feel. I can talk to as many people as I like and not care about them. So yeah, you can love somebody fully with all your heart and be completely loyal and devoted to them, and still go and talk to other people, or still go and have sex with other people. And it can still not mean anything. Because not all conversations are the same. Not all sex is the same. Not all people are the same. Each relationship is unique. So long as a man is always coming home to you, that's his loyalty. So there's an example of how that works. You can have a best friend and love them more than anything and be completely loyal to them and still have a chat with somebody else occasionally and just say hello and goodbye in passing or talk about the weather or whatever. It's not cheating on that person that you're in a best friends forever relationship. And if they really are a friend, then they'll understand and give you the freedom to be able to communicate with other people. Well, the same is true with sex, because sex doesn't mean the same thing for men as it does for women. And the reason for this is because women can get pregnant as a result of sex and men can't. It's a basic biological understanding of the difference between men and women. For women, sex is a big deal and it means a lot. For men, it doesn't mean anything. And I use this example in other videos and it sounds ridiculous, but it's the only way I can properly explain it, is that it's natural for a woman to sit down while she's having a piss. And it's natural for a man to stand up while he's having a piss because he has a dick and she doesn't. So we should just accept the fact that men and women are different. One stands up, one sits down. Now, if all women turn around and says, oh, hang on a minute, I sit down, so therefore all men should sit down so that it's equal, like she feels like she wants monogamy. Okay, well, be monogamous, but you shouldn't expect men to do the same thing. They prefer to be free, to be able to do whatever they want. Just because somebody loves you, it doesn't give them the right to restrict your freedom. And just because you have a way of doing things, it doesn't mean to say that somebody else has to do them things the same way, else they don't love you. It doesn't work like that. It's based on how you treat somebody. Men and women have different ways of showing the same loyalty to one another. Like I said earlier, women just don't like the idea that something else other than them is having the attention. Women use the word cheating as a shaming technique to say that, oh, well, you're giving your attention to somebody else. And that's what you're doing when you're having sex with somebody. You're just giving your attention to somebody else.
It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Men have an innate biological need to spread our seed, to have sexual variety in our lives. And in fact, that's a lot of the causes of relationship issues is either a lack of sex or when the man hasn't got any access to, for want of a better term, strange pussy in this circumstance.
Yeah, but I don't think it's to do with sex even. I don't think it's to do with pussy. I think it's just not restricting somebody else's freedom. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other because I love you. It doesn't make sense.
He has no access to other women. Again, I knew this was going to be a very controversial thing for a lot of women to hear, but if a man cheats on you, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you anymore.
Again, the word cheating is the wrong word. Because it's not cheating as a man, because he doesn't give a fuck. If he's a pussy and he's easily manipulated by sex, then you should be worried about him going off with somebody else because he can't control himself emotionally. But if he's the fucking man, he can go fuck somebody and not give a fuck about it. A man of any value doesn't give a fuck about the sex. It's not the main thing that he's looking for. A weaker simp is looking for sex anywhere he can get it. And what I've found as well is that the word cheating, another reason why it's the wrong word to use is because it implies dishonesty. Cheating is when you're going behind somebody's back. So it's not so much that the women don't like the fact that a guy slept with another girl that meant nothing to him. They kind of get that. But what they don't like is the fact that you lied to them about it. The fact that you cheated on them, you deceived them, you pretended to be something that you wasn't. You're a faker. That's more what women are disgusted by, is the fact that you're insincere. You're not who you said you were. That's more kind of, it digs very deep. So long as a guy is open and honest about everything, there shouldn't be a problem. You know, if he's a man that is easily controlled by the women using sex, then do you really want to be with him? Because all a woman has to do is flash their tits at him and he's like, oh, boobies, and then he goes and cheats on you. Well, if you're do you really want to be with a guy like that? Or do you want to be with a guy that is like, a woman flashes her tits at him and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, not be controlled by sex. And also, I think depending on the man and what stage he's at in life and all that kind of stuff, I don't think he wants to go around chasing a load of pussy. He doesn't necessarily want to do that because it's a lot of hassle. He just doesn't want someone telling him what he can or can't do, because then he's no longer the man, is he? Then he should be in control of his own behaviour, of what he can and can't do. He should have agency over his own decision making.
Again, I knew this was going to be a very controversial thing for a lot of women to hear, but if a man cheats on you, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you anymore. A man is perfectly capable of having sex with other women and still coming home to you and loving and adoring you and providing for you in the same way he would if he wasn't having sex with these other women.
In the same way that if you're really good friends with somebody, you can still say hello and goodbye to somebody else. You don't have to just not talk to them because you can only exclusively talk to one person, your best friend.
Now, if this got you fired up, or you think I'm being a bit harsh on women, then I encourage you to check out this video right here, where I talk about the 5 most common myths that men believe about women.
Yep, and I did the reaction video on that as well. So hopefully this has gained some insight into the differences between how men and women perceive each other in relationships.